p.m. Please rise for the invocation given by Sarah Lucido and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, we ask for your guidance as we undertake the business of our city of Eastpointe. As we thank you for the many blessings you have given us, help us to lead our community with patience, tolerance, and understanding. We ask that you direct us to do what is best for all of our residents. It is in your name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Council, if you would join me at the rostrum, we have two very important proclamations to give tonight. So tonight is a very special night. Our first item is a letter of recognition for Burton Dan Zander. So Dan, do you want to come up?
Oh, this is awesome.
So this reads, whereas Dan Zander became a crossing guard on November 7th, 1992.
Yes.
And whereas Dan Zander has been a very dedicated professional and dependable crossing guard for 25 years. And where Dan Zander is passionate about what he does and how he does it. And whereas Dan Zander will go the extra mile to help out, and several compliments every year prove this. Just look at the crowd here tonight. Just look at the crowd. Yeah. Half of the East Detroit High School is here, don't you think?
Yeah, I was surprised, yes.
And tell everybody where you get to sit on the bus to the games. Right in the front.
Right on the front of the bus.
For how many years?
25.
At least. And whereas Dan Zander has a very positive attitude and is encouraging to the students every single day.
Yes.
I bet there are some people here tonight that knew Dan, that are adults now, that knew you when they were kids.
Amen. Yes.
And their kids. And maybe some grandparents. Yeah. And now, therefore, the Eastpointe City Council extends hearty congratulations to Dan Zander for 25 years of service and as an Eastpointe crossing guard.
Wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And don't sit down yet.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, for your mom, we got to do this. Smile. And one more. We have the Director of Public Services here also.
Oh, my goodness.
From the police department.
Right here, Dan. On behalf of the Eastpointe Police Department and the entire community, we want to express our gratitude to you, Dan, for your dedicated and faithful service for all these 25 years and for the important role you've played in making sure our students got to and from school safely.
Yes.
So we'd also like to present this plaque to you, which states, presented to Burton Dan Zander, in appreciation for 25 years of dedicated service as a crossing guard for the city of Eastpointe, November 7th, 1992 to November 7th, 2017. Thank you.
Oh my God.
You want to hold this?
Yeah.
There you go.
And one more.
Oh boy. Oh no. Come on.
The football coach wants to come up and say a few
Okay.
words.
boy. That's great.
Yeah, thanks, guys. They told me no cussing. See, they're learning.
Amen.
I took over last year. I knew there was a long tradition. I was advised you were going to be around, and you were the biggest shamrock there was. So that has definitely proven to be true. You've been there by my side along the way. I appreciate your friendship, your loyalty to the team. They all love it. The fact that you say prayer before every team meal, we love that. And the fact that you are a diehard Shamrock. And unfortunately, he had to tell me that he's leaving this weekend, so he will not get to see our last game this season because we play on Saturday. And I was like, no, you can't do that. So, but we've already made a deal that I will be the first one to call him and tell him that we beat the Panthers of Centerline as well. And then I told him he better get his butt back. He better get his butt back on Sunday for 7 o'clock when they do Selection Sunday and we get named in the playoffs. So there you go. All right, buddy? Thank you.
So now, Dan, it's your turn. Do you want to say a few words?
I would like to. I'm going to take a short time. Excuse me. You know what? This is my best time I ever been on. And you guys, football players, love all you guys. And I'm so glad to be with you. And Madam Mayor, I am very happy to see you all the time during my crossing hours. And Mom, Kim, Sandy, you just made my day. I mean, you just made my, huh? And I'm going to keep going too. And also, City Council, I thank you for your time, for thinking about me as a young guy, 56 years young. And I am very pleased to be your super fan for this city of Eastpointe. This is a very special for my time. It's special for my family, for Eastpointe High School football team. Coach Bill, I love you to death. Excellent job that you did. Every one of you guys out there, awesome. And I really appreciate for your time being. And I will come back because I talked to my mom, my family about what we're going to do this weekend. Hopefully, I can come back, take my time, because I like to come back to see the playoffs. I don't want to miss everything. And then one more thing. I want to thank for your prayers, for your thoughts, for your ideas. I missed this place, but I came back for good, for a little while. And Madam Mayor, I want to thank you again for your time being. Thank you so much. And go Shamrocks.
Don't leave. All right. Thank you all for coming. Good luck Saturday. Okay, we have another plaque to give. Are the students all going to be staying? Why not? Why not? That's right. All right, so our second one is a proclamation, and this one is to First State Bank. So we have a couple people. So if you don't know these people, this is Phil Ruggieri, And at one time, Phil was an East Detroit High student, and now he's the first vice president of First State Bank. And this is Lawrence Morris. And Lawrence is the manager of 10 Mile and Hayes, and he's also an Eastpointe resident. I bet you used to play football.
A little bit.
A little bit. So today is the anniversary of 100 years that First State Bank has been in business in this city. Well, it started off as Halfway, then it was East Detroit, and now it's Eastpointe. But for 100 years, they have been pretty close to the intersection of 9 Mile and Gratiot. So this reads, whereas in 1917, Halfway State Bank opened in what is now Eastpointe, and whereas in 1929, Halfway Savings Bank was renamed First State Bank, and whereas in 1933, First State Bank endured the stock market crash and the era of bank failures, and whereas in 1947, the second branch of First State Bank opens in St. Clair Shores with drive-up windows. And whereas in the 1970s, ATMs were installed at all First State Bank locations. And whereas in the 80s, First State Bank opened its 7th branch office, and in 2005, it opened its 11th branch office. And whereas in 2008, First State Bank neither received nor required any government assistance during the financial crisis. And whereas in 2011 to 2017, First State Bank was voted the best bank by Macomb Daily readers. And whereas in 2014 and 15, First State Bank received a Corporate Citizen Award presented by Macomb Business Awards. And whereas First State Bank annually provides, listen to this, everybody, $11,000 scholarships for Eastpointe Community School graduates. And whereas First State Bank annually provides these scholarships, it is also the only community bank in Macomb County that's left out of so many community banks. And whereas they have recently proudly observed and celebrated the 100th anniversary of its establishment, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council and the City of Eastpointe does hereby congratulate First State Bank on its 100th anniversary. So I have to tell you, Phil Ruggieri, you can probably tell everybody, you started off in high school and then came over here to work at First State Bank as a teller.
Mm-hmm.
You want to tell your story?
Well, it's 32 years ago I started at the bank, and like so many of us, Lawrence has been there quite a while too. Many of us have been at the bank for a long, long time. I started out as a teller. Our former chairman was a teller, moved all the way up to chairman and CEO. So, it's a great place, great people, and, we're really proud to serve the community of Eastpointe and serve really all of Macomb County. And on behalf of First State Bank, we thank you so much for this kind award. Thank you.
And this is our award. Member for 25 years.
25.
This is the.
All right. Thank you. And you want to
Okay, thank you so much.
shake the hands of the council as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was really hoping it would.
Hugs.
Thank you so very much.
All right, sir.
Are you coming right? Oh, yeah. We need to talk about that.
Buddy, Mr. Yep. Sure.
I know, Bill. I've known you a long time.
One very obvious.
Morris, like Boris the cat.
Yeah, I haven't seen him.
All right. Thank you. All right.
You cannot stand. All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Here.
Councilmember Lucido,
Here.
Councilmember Kleinfeld,
Here.
Mayor Pixley.
Here. We have a couple items to add to the agenda, is that correct? One was suggested to add, that we need to add a city council meeting for November the 9th to certify election results. Somebody'd like to make a motion to add that?
Sure, Madam Mayor, I'll motion to add a city council meeting on November 9th to certify the election results. What time?
I think we're,
5 p.m.?
I was going to say 5 p.m. because the Chamber of Commerce has an event at 5:30.
Yes.
So
At 5 p.m.
are we adding an agenda item or just motioning right now?
I think make a motion to add it to the agenda.
Oh,
Okay.
add to the agenda what I just said is my motion.
Second.
Okay, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Pixley.
Yes, and Michael, did you have something else to add?
Yes, I had previously requested a budget amendment regarding the DPW, and I still want to talk about the budget and the entire process with that, but I would like to add it now as discussion on DPW positions. And that's it. I think that'll be fine.
Okay,
I'll support that.
Unless Mr. Marucci thought there was a better way to kind of word what that will encompass.
no, I think that's a perfect way to start the discussion.
Okay.
okay.
Joe, weren't we going to add the audit,
Anything else?
We do.
the audit meeting?
I'm sorry, the December 5th, we need a December 5th special council meeting to review the audit. At the
At
normal-
6 p.m.
We do 6 p.m. That's right, it's prior to the
No,
regular.
right.
Well, I think we could just discuss that under adding meetings as an agenda item and just add both those.
Okay.
I need a roll call on DPW.
We just added it as, all right. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Pixley,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
And then one more, item. Council, what about the stipend for the interim city manager? Were we discussing that on this agenda?
I think we should. Want to make a motion to that?
Okay, yeah, I'll motion to add then a discussion for the acting city manager stipend.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Mayor Pixley,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
With that, we will move to the first hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard? Sir, in the back, please come forward and state your name.
My name is Mark Laux. I live on Saxony in Eastpointe. I got a letter one day stating that I had a tarp on my roof. They had it fixed, so I came up here and I talked to Mrs. Peacock. And she told me as long as I'm getting it fixed, how much time I need is fine. So 2 days ago, I get a threatening letter from the city attorney stating I can go to jail for 90 days and a $500 fine if I don't have it fixed in 30 days. So I went and talked to my uncle, which is Mark Metry, attorney, Judge Metry, and he said if I don't get no satisfaction today to come back and see him, and I want to prosecute the city for it because I'm not being threatened by this city. I've been here 10 years, and I'm not putting up with stuff like this. My house is immaculate, better than any house in this you have in this city. And the code enforcer just seems to come by our house every day just hunting for stuff, and we're tired of it. I am ready to take the code enforcers into court.
So, sir, we can't answer you, but would you mind going over there and giving your name and your address to Linda?
Sure, not a
If you'd
problem.
like to stay, you can always talk to the city attorney afterwards.
Yes, because this is totally unfair, especially in this city, the way they code enforcement treat people. And they walk right in your backyard. That's illegal. I know that for sure, because I have cameras and saw them come in.
So if you would go and give your name, and then please stay so you can talk to the city attorney afterwards. Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Curley.
Hi, I'm Harvey Curley. This is Patrick Wolf. We're both from the Committee of Cruz and Gratiot, and we're here tonight to present you with a check, as we do every year. But first of all, I just want to say that there's a lot of cities that have cruises. 19 years ago when we started, and I just seen the 1999 DVD, we were the only one probably in the state other than Woodward Avenue, and we had a lot of people out there that day. But here we are 19 years later and getting already for the 20th annual. There's going to be a lot of great things, and of course the mayor and council will be invited to be in the VIP parade. We're not sure if you'll be in a car or maybe a Zamboni. We're not sure, but that's what was in the very first parade. They had 4 Zambonis filled with people. It was great. And so anyway, there's a lot of people we want to thank. First of all, I want to thank the city, and I've said this on television, that the reason we're so successful, and a major part of it, is because of cooperation between the Cruz and Gratiot and the city council and mayor and the administration and everybody here. We couldn't do it without that. There are other cities nearby that play political games, and so they haven't been very successful. But we've been successful only because of the cooperation that all of us have with one another. So first of all, we want to thank you for that. You want to say anything?
I just also want to thank the police for making sure that all the cruises come off without a hitch. We couldn't do it without them helping us and assisting that everything runs smoothly, keeping everything like it's going. And also, again, thank you to the city council and to various powers that be that help make the cruises go every year. And we're definitely looking forward to number 20 coming up. It's going to be a really spectacular one.
Yeah. Now, obviously, it takes a village. You've all heard that. It takes a lot of great people to do all of this, and we have already been working for about 3 months on this. So let me name the people who are on the board of directors. Mayor Suzanne Pixley, Diane Reese-Sager is our treasurer, Janita Jacobs, Sue Young is our secretary, Pat Mann, a vice president, Patrick Wolf, standing right here, and Kevin Riley. And so it gives me great pleasure in presenting to you a check for $17,440.49. And at least if anybody should think in the audience or watching, saying that, well, are we sure that that's the total amount and we got everybody paid for? Yeah, we did. Yeah, we make very sure that everybody gets paid, and if anybody works, that's what they should do, and we don't have a problem with that. And then one last thing I want to talk about before my 5 minutes are up is to the folks here and to the folks who are watching, that 3 weeks from today is the election. We can talk all day, and predictions are that there's only going to be between 12 and 15% of the voters vote, and that's disgraceful. It's been said that the government starts at this level, and it does. The federal government doesn't care about our local streets. The federal government doesn't care if our water bills go up or down. As a matter of fact, the federal government really don't give a damn about Eastpointe. And I will say that because of the DOJ, what the Department of Justice is trying to do to this city right now. That's a classic example. So I encourage people, you can still vote absentee, come on down to City Hall and get an absentee ballot. I would love to see that figure up to 35 or 40%. I know it probably won't be, but we got a lot of great people running for office, and the government starts here, in this building actually. And if you don't vote, and I find out that you didn't vote, and you come up to me and start complaining about the city government and individual council members, and I know that you didn't vote, I'm going to have some very choice words for you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Lubeck.
Jeff Lubeck, Eastpointe resident. I have a question. I guess maybe the best one to direct this at might be Mr. Blum. If not, and I don't expect an answer tonight, but I'm curious as to what is involved in the process of going out for a bid on a city contract. How much time does it take, and how much money does it cost? Thank you.
Please state your name.
Scott Riney, Eastpointe resident. Been here 12 years. I've seen a lot go on. I ain't seen anything too bad. My biggest question is I sit there with the windows open at night. It's beautiful. I sit there here, fire truck after fire truck after fire truck. I know we don't have that many fire calls. I know they're responding to med calls. Just wondering why, because we privatized the ambulance service, why does a $700,000 to $1 million+ truck need a roll for every med call? I was on fire department down south. We had a Dodge 3/4 ton pickup with a cap on the top of it, and that's what responded to med calls until our medical service technicians could get there from 15 miles away. We stabilized the patient. We didn't need a $1 million engine to run to every med call. Wears out engines. I'd like to see us be able to retain those for a few more years, longer than what we have to, just because we're going because somebody has chest pain. If their house was on fire and they had chest pain, I could understand. That's the only question I have, and it's more directed towards the director of why do we do that versus an ex-cop car, a utility vehicle, something like that. And then my other thing is I was told by 2 council members that the water rates went up because of aging water lines. When we buried them 50, 60, God knows how much longer, did we not think they were going to age? Why wasn't 1% or 0.5% or something of the water bill kept for replacement? You know, I don't build cities. You know, I don't run cities. I'm 34 years old. That's a big deal. I'm just wondering, why are we trying to get the money now? Why didn't we try to get the money from day one? I'm not going to stay for the whole meeting. It's my wife's birthday, but I definitely will catch the answers on YouTube. And
We'll try to have the answers.
Thank you.
One of them takes a little bit more preparation, so we'll try to have them either this week or next week.
Yeah, you know, whatever. If somebody wants to message me and say, hey, this is how it works, you know, I appreciate it, you know, and I appreciate y'all putting it on YouTube, because
We always try, if you ask a question here, that we will answer it here as well. So we'll try to do it.
you know, because when I first got here, I had all my gear. It was all certified. It was bought by a government grant. I was a volunteer down south, and I went, and me and my mom, we both went to the fire station. We talked to, I want to say it's Danny Hagan. It was fire chief. We talked to him about, are they do any kind of reserve, volunteer? And I got pretty much, the response was rude. I understand it's union. I said something on Facebook about it, and I got banned from the fire department's Facebook because they didn't like the aspect of it as I was trying to say something about volunteers. I'm not trying to take anybody's job. But when Legends was burning, they didn't mind me dragging hoses. I drug hoses until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, helping them. You know, I don't mind dragging a hose. I don't want to drive a truck, you know, but if we need help, there's a lot of federal grants for volunteers. I learned how to do that in 8th grade. My 8th grade teacher taught me how to write a grant. It's not hard, you know. So thank y'all, and thank you for putting it up on Facebook or on YouTube, because I don't always have the schedule. I can sit down and watch a meeting, and with crying kids, I can stop it, pause it, start it, catch it back up. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Sir? And please state your name.
John Williamson.
Doris Williamson.
We've been blessed to be in a very nice city for 10 years now. But recently, someone moved into our neighborhood who's not responsible, and I had to call on this individual twice because, first of all, he threatened me. Secondly, he has several dogs. And I was under the impression that you can only have 2 dogs per household. And when I called down here, I was told that if a person has more than 2 dogs, it's considered a kennel. And this young man has 3 dogs, and he just lets them out at nighttime, and they messes up our yard. So I'm concerned that he and I are going to get in another kind of situation where we might have some issues, and I don't want to do that. I think I'm a peaceful person, and I would like to know what can I do to, I don't know, to have a better communication with him, or if y'all can do something in terms of sending someone out there to let him know that he need to have his dogs in the yard as opposed to just let him out and, and do whatever they want to do. That's our concern.
So if you would stop over there and give him your name and your address, and Chief.
Okay, because we made a report already.
Follow up on it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
Does anyone else wish to be heard? You have to come up here. But usually you're only allowed 1 time, so make it quick.
In the last, I'd say 3 days, I've been around the city on my own and taken pictures of different violations. Now, there's some violations out there that the city needs to address before somebody gets hurt. I've been an inspector for 8 years when I lived in Ohio. The violations I have on my phone are just drastically terrible. And there's even violations right across the street from the police department when you got metal hanging out of the lawn on people's lawns on the city property where anybody can get hurt on it.
So again, we usually only allow people to talk 1 time, but right in the back there is the lady that's in charge of the building department, and give her your name and your address, and if you have pictures, I'm sure she'd like to see them.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to be heard at this time? Anyone else? Ma'am?
Is there, I haven't been here, but is there any update on the Department of Justice lawsuit?
We'll let the city attorney take care of that.
Okay.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? With that, the first hearing of the public is closed. Move on to approval of the minutes from the special meeting of September the 5th, 2017. Do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the special meeting minutes of September 5th, 2017.
Support?
With support, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. Second item is approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of October the 3rd, 2017.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of October 3rd, 2017.
Please call the roll.
Support?
We got support? Call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. We have no scheduled hearings or unfinished business tonight. We'll move on to reports from administration, and we'll start with our acting city manager, Mr. Marucci.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. A couple items. The first one is at the end of the month. I don't recall if it's the 30th or 31st, but the administration will be meeting with the Great Lakes Water Authority representatives because our water purchase agreement is set to expire. I believe it's December 31st. The existing one, I believe, is 4 or 5 years old and periodically comes up for review. We've had an internal meeting involving the Assistant City Manager and the Finance Director, as well as Steve Pangori and myself, and the same people will be sitting down with the GLWA. It'll probably be 1 to 2 meetings, and we're really looking at how much water we buy and how fast do we buy it on any one particular day. They call it peak hour and peak day. That's about all. It's not how cheap can you get the water, and they're going to sell it to us cheaper than Roseville or St. Clair Shores. Years and years ago, I saw their formula, and I'm not so sure anyone could figure out what their formula is and how they determine it. It's distance, it's elevation, it's pressure, it's what, are you getting it from Detroit or are you getting it from Port Huron? But that's going to be coming up, so probably before the end of the year, we'll be coming up with a new agreement, and we're looking at how much water, again, we buy it and what's the biggest demand that we put on. Those are the 2 influences greater than anything else is how fast do you need it in terms of peak hour and what's the greatest amount that you buy in one particular day, because that's what they have to gear for all 150 communities that they serve. And they're looking to downsize the water system that they have. Again, it's actually converted now, and Randy, isn't it 60% of the cost that we purchase water from GLWA is fixed? I thought it was 60/40.
Yeah, 900,000 is fixed and about 660 is volume based.
Yeah, so if we bought no water at all, we'd be paying $900,000 a year because they have to somehow be certain that they're going to be selling water to people. So, and sewage a couple of years ago went to 100% flat rate. So if we don't send 1 ounce of sewer, we're going to get a bill, and I think it's about 6 or 7 million for us.
We're pushing 6.8 million on sewer.
Yeah, so that's going to be coming up, and I think we'll be well represented.
One question on
Yes.
that then. So will we push the discussion towards seeing if, you're talking off hours for the reservoir? Then we could have like an updated financial estimate?
This is looking at, is it going to be financially feasible to bring the reservoir online? And as of right now, it's really at best 50-50 because we talked to them in our original meeting, and everyone who's put a reservoir online, the payback has been very short, 3, 4, 5 years. Our payback now is estimated to be 11 years. And if they went to a flat rate, which they said they could never go to flat rate totally on water, we'd be totally out of luck. And that's why we don't want to, those two are coming together. And we're seeing, and obviously AEW is with us on both the water reservoir and obviously on the renewal of our agreement with Detroit.
Okay.
There was a rash when they went to peak hours. There was a rash of cities that built towers and everything, and so now they can't do it. So they're going back to the flat hour where we were before.
Yeah. For example, on another project I was working with the city of Novi, they built a water reservoir, simply 1 gallon. Their payback was 1.3 years. Of course, they buy water probably 4 or 5 times their amount, but that's how quickly, and it was worth for them. I think they reduced their rates by 30%. The rate in which they purchased water was reduced by 30%.
Is Roseville still interested in joining on that, or are they looking at this stuff too?
They express interest. It's always, yeah, we're interested, but we really need to come up with them. And we were asked several questions by the financial person we brought in to give us some ideas. It's like, why would Roseville want to buy water from you at a higher rate than they're buying it currently from the GLWA? And that's one of the causes of bringing the water reservoir in line. It's like, I guess they wouldn't. So they have committed to looking at the numbers, and now we need to provide the numbers.
Then Fraser also, I thought we.
Fraser was ruled out because of the distance. Okay. It doesn't make sense for them to do it.
So are they anticipating an increase in the amount of capital improvements in Detroit that would channel down to through the GLWA?
They did not mention that in our very, very preliminary meeting, but I do know that if you go on their website, they do have what their capital improvements are. They have a map. But I don't know if that's an increase over prior years or if it's a constant level, and we can bring that up to find out.
And are we still paying for unpaid water bills for both Highland Park and Detroit?
Absolutely.
And when does that end?
I think when we finally start getting paid from Highland Park, which owes either 28 or $30 million. So, and they obviously don't have the money, and you're not going to shut them off.
All right, do you have other?
I have one other item. On October 28th, which is approximately 11 days from now, we'll be doing our first tree planting in a long, long time. This is part of the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. We need volunteers, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the next 10 or 11 days involving a lot of people. We are partnering with Relief Michigan, and we have a press release that's 99% complete. It'll be completed by tomorrow morning. But the bulk of the planting, approximately 23 to 25 trees, will be planted on Kelly Road in the medians, approximately 3 blocks, beginning 3 blocks south of 9 Mile and extending for 2.5 medians. We also have about 8 to 10 trees we're going to plant in front of homes which have what I call a berm area large enough. But so we'll have it on our Facebook, on our website, and any place else that we do. But it's key that we have volunteers because we're hoping for the holes will be pre-dug, and really that's the only way to be successful. But we literally will need bodies. So call me. I will be on the flyer at 586-204-3012. We also need elected officials. We'd like to have you there at 8:30. This will begin at 8:30 on Saturday morning. It should last till approximately noon. We're going to try to have almost everything possible done in advance. But we need bodies. We need bodies who bring shovels, because I'm also accumulating shovels. And on that point, English Gardens, which is about 1.5 blocks north of where we'll be getting planting, is they're not donating, but they've given a substantial price decrease on mulch that they'll be providing. And the key thing is they'll be providing it to the site with a high-low, because it's going to take about 3 bags of mulch per tree. So that comes out to 99 bags. He is committed to delivering it that morning to the site. And also, American Lawn and Garden has donated their water truck that morning at no cost. And they do work for the city, and they were excited to be part of this. So they'll be mentioned on the flyer. So we'd like to have able-bodied people. It's with solid shoes and a shovel at 8:30 on Saturday morning, the 28th. Very, very small kickoff meeting, and then we're going to be getting planning. And then we've also, by coincidence, J.J. Mish is honoring the people who participate in the Adopt-A-Garden, and he's going to be providing lunch. We're going to go over there and join them for lunch afterwards. It was just by chance that it seems like it worked out perfect, and so that will be the city's appreciation to any and all volunteers that will provide you lunch that day. And our hope is get enough volunteers to where, at best or at worst, you have to plant 2 trees. But hopefully the holes will be pre-dug. So I'm working on that. So please give me a call.
Mr. Marucci?
204-3012. That's my office line. Just give me a call anytime after 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. We want all the volunteers possible. Please bring a shovel.
Well, first of all, I will be there.
Good.
Put me down. But second, can you have Bill make a Facebook event? It's a lot easier to share then, and that'll help get the word out.
I think it's already on.
I think we posted it like on the wall, but if we can make like an actual event, it's a lot easier to share. And as people RSVP, yes, we can actually like contact them and say, are you actually coming?
Perfect. We can do that. It's called a Facebook event. We will do so. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Anything else, Frank? No. Let's move on to our finance director, Mr. Blum.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council, just audit was wrapping up today about 6:15, so I finally kicked them out and got to go get some dinner. But it's been a long couple weeks. It has been interesting that it's taking a lot longer to get through the audit because there's more and more requirements, including we now have to do an MDOT specific audit that is new this year. It's not just financial, it's process oriented. They were reviewing time cards and et cetera, another unfunded mandate, of course, but it's now a requirement for our street funds.
That was all related to Act 51, correct?
Yep.
Which is, for the most part, major roads. And we use about 50% of the Act 51 for our local roads.
We transfer 50% of major over to local, correct?
Right.
Yep. So, but that's been about all I've been doing for a couple weeks.
Actually, Madam Mayor, I had two minor questions for Mr. Marucci. I'm sorry. If I could.
Please.
Just one, if we can add, just want to say at the meeting, add on the agenda an email address for people to contact. If they pick one up here, then they'll have all the contact info they need for the agenda.
Okay.
And then the second thing was, I believe the city council and school board both have a meeting set for November 13th here then, because the meeting after the election would be Monday, and then that would be the Monday.
We're doing 5 o'clock. What time does the school board?
No, not the one to certify.
Oh, the November 13th, the special organizational meeting. We're going at 8 o'clock.
I believe I looked on school board site and it still looked like it was set for the 13th, so I don't know if they changed. Oh, it's been canceled? Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Linda. Okay. They did, okay, school board canceled, according to Linda, just was still on their website. All right, well, that is all set then. That was all, thank you. Sorry.
Anything else for the finance director?
And then I did have one question for the finance director. For the, this has been a FOIA request from a resident, and we've mentioned it. I think I'm confused on the DPW yard usage. Mr. Creech has come to the meeting, and we received a response from the city that Eastpointe, St. Clair Shores, and Eastpointe, they'll share their yards for projects, but then there is no written document about that. How do we financially, like if one city uses it more than the other, I would think we at least somehow financially equal that out. How do we do that? I think I've just been confused as to how all that works.
There's no tracking of any of that. It's just a mutual agreement between the 3 cities. You got to stage somewhere, and usually you can't stage in the city you're doing the construction in.
So do we keep track of which projects are actually going on in each yard each year then?
You would have to ask the DPW folks that one. It's not run through finance, I can tell you that.
And then, so we only, because when I first heard about this, I thought if there's a private contractor that's got a project just down the street from our yard, they paid us to use our yard, but it's a private project, not for Roseville or St. Clair Shores. Seems like, why not if we had, free room in the yard or something? But, so we don't do any projects like that, though? It would only be city projects for the 3 cities? Is that?
It's supposed to be, right? That's the agreement.
Okay.
Are you speaking about just staging and using the area, or
Yes.
sharing resources like using trucks and?
Sorry, no, just staging, I think is what
Oh, okay.
Yeah, about the only thing that's used of ours when it's at our site would be the water, if they're making concrete.
Okay. And then they'd pay for that, is that what you said?
No.
Or, oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, we had 3 years of big contract, or big work that was done out of Roseville and St. Clair Shores. We didn't pay them. So
Okay.
we definitely got our fair share.
Okay. Okay. That was my only question, Madam Mayor.
Okay, let's move on to Mr. Albright.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. In response to the resident who had to request an update regarding the DOJ case, that case is currently in the discovery phase right now. To date, the Department of Justice has conducted 11 depositions. All of the city council members have been deposed. As recently as last Friday, Mr. Duchesne, the former city manager, he was deposed here at City Hall. His deposition started approximately 9 o'clock in the morning and went till approximately 5:30 in the afternoon. There are approximately 8 depositions scheduled for later this week of different individuals who have relevant information regarding the case, but it is just in the discovery phase right now, but discovery will be winding up here within the week, and after that then the case just proceeds into the next segment of the case. A trial, if one becomes necessary, is not scheduled to occur until July of 2018. So, but in answer to the question, the case is just proceeding along the discovery track that was agreed on by the parties back in the spring. In response to the gentleman who talked about the problem dogs belonging to the neighbor, sir, you are correct. Eastpointe does limit dogs to 2 per household unless the individual does have a kennel permit. If you see the dogs roaming the neighborhoods, the city does have an ordinance that prohibits animals at large. Animals are not permitted to run or roam neighborhoods at large. If you happen to see your neighbor's dogs trespassing on your property, you can certainly take photographic evidence of that, and you can present that to the city attorney's office. What you can do is you can contact our office to schedule an appointment to meet with one of the assistant city prosecutors. Our phone number is 586-778-7778. Those meetings are scheduled and conducted over at the 38th District Court on Monday afternoons, and you can bring in the pictures of the animals on your property, and we'll certainly take a look at that, and if we believe that there is a violation of the ordinance, your neighbor will be charged with a crime if those animals are posing a nuisance or trespassing on your property. Madam Mayor, I was also here at City Hall today for, what was it, Mary, 11 dangerous building hearings? Initially 13. We initially had 13 scheduled, but 2 were resolved, and so we were here for 11, and I thought they went well. We were able to get them in a fairly good period of time, and I also asked Ms. Van Haren if she was going to be requesting any show cause hearings this evening, and she said not at this time. So.
Really?
Really. So that is all I have, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to answer any questions. Good.
Anyone have any questions? No. All right, let's move on to new business. We'll start with item A, proposal for professional services. And this is with the Michigan Infrastructure Asset Management Pilot. This is just relates to GIS data. Related to this, previously we've gone ahead and done our asset management. Mr. Marucci and I went to a meeting with SEMCOG. SEMCOG's been chosen by the governor to bring together all of the information related to asset management so they can determine the age and the condition of everything from water pipes, sewer lines, streets, and one more, Joe, what was it?
Stormwater. Yes.
Stormwater, drains. So we have all that data already. We just have to convert it to the system that's required by SEMCOG and in the governor's office. So that's what this is all about. So do we have a motion?
Sure. Yeah, Madam Mayor. Yeah, this is exciting too, I think, especially because it's kind of like a tech solution to a problem, so I like it. Motion to engage the services of Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick to provide engineering services for the Michigan Infrastructure Asset Management Pilot GIS data request and convert our current water, storm, sanitary, and road GIS information into the form that's being requested by SEMCOG and provide that information to SEMCOG by November 1, 2017.
Do we have support?
Support.
The best news of all is the fact that the cost for the conversion might be picked up as a grant.
Will be.
Will be.
Will be.
Oh.
And we will be, the city will be reimbursed the $3,000 from SEMCOG once we present an invoice.
Okay.
So please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Item B is the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 1145, which relates to the adoption of the International Property Maintenance Code number 218. And if we have any questions, Ms. Van Haren is here. Would you like Ms. Van Haren to step forward? Anyone?
Sure.
Would you like to come forward, please? please.
Yeah, so the International Property Maintenance Code is used in the city for both property maintenance as well as rental inspections. They update the code from time to time. We have missed a few of the updates. They weren't terribly much changes to them. There weren't that much changes. And so I'm recommending that we adopt the 2018 International Property Maintenance Code in lieu of the 2009 that we currently have adopted, and I've identified some of the changes, pretty minor in nature.
So did you have questions on this one?
I did not.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
Oh, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to introduce and give first reading to ordinance number 1145, which amends Chapter 10, Buildings and Buildings Regulations, Article 4, Property Maintenance Code, and adopt 2018 International Property Maintenance Code and amendments to that code, and schedule the ordinance for second reading at City Council's November 13th, 2017 meeting.
Support?
Yes.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Item C is the certification of election inspectors for November 2017 city general election. And if we have any questions about this, our one and only certified clerk is sitting right over there. Anyone? Big, long list.
The only question I brought up was the one earlier about just the precinct captains being, I always thought they had to be opposite political party. That was all.
The chairs and assistant chairs do not have to be, as long as I have a Democrat and Republican working in the precinct. So if there's a situation where they have to do something, I have one of each party.
Okay. Sounds good to me then.
All right. You need a motion?
Sure. Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to certify in accordance with Chapter 4, Section 26, the City of Eastpointe, of the City of Eastpointe Charter, the list of elections inspectors, substitute election inspectors, and receiving board inspectors for the November 7, 2017 general election as approved by the City of Eastpointe Election Commission on October 5th, 2017.
Support?
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. Item D is a bid award for updating security cameras and recording system at City Hall. Mr. Altimus, do you want to explain a little bit about this?
Well, this is coming back to you folks. Once we got the parking lot finally done and got the conduit in, we can now update our analog system out in the parking lot to the high definition. I added 2 more cameras to the front of the building. I showed Councilmember Lucido tonight the damage to one of our windows where somebody took a nice sized rock and put it through it. So we're going to add 2 more to the front where I have a gap, obviously, in there. So this is just to update what we've been waiting for the parking lot project. We've now got all the conduit in. We can now run the new lines and put the high definition cameras in instead of the analog ones.
I just had one question. I think before we discussed that administration was considering putting cameras at different locations throughout the city and like doing it as a larger bid instead of doing kind of piecing it together. Are we still expecting to do that? Do you have plans to, are we going to see this kind of again for like another building?
Well, no, because right at the moment, I've done all the buildings. This is just the last phase of it. Unless we have some cameras that go bad. We have had that happen with power outages where they get hit. I, at this point, don't have any plans for that, but again, some things have a tendency to change depending on an incident, which has happened quite frequently.
Okay.
So what does coverage look like right now? We're adding a couple to the front. There's
Correct. Right now, I cover, in the front area, I cover the section that sidewalk that leads into the building off Gratiot. And then there's a section down at the north end where it's actually in front of Miss Van Heren's office, where there's that little cubby hole area that you could hide into. We cover that area. Then we go off to the sides and then round to the back. So that's about the coverage that I have right now. I don't have the section that basically is the city manager's suite, and it's the city manager's office that actually had the rock thrown through the window.
I voted no on the parking lot, so I'm probably going to vote no on this too, since it's all kind of
Do we have a motion?
mixed in.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the utilization of governmental pricing and authorize the purchase of new high-definition cameras and recording system for City Hall and Able Electronics out of St. Clair Shores, Michigan, in the amount of $19,417.30 in accordance with its October 2nd, 2017 proposal, and authorize the acting city manager to execute all necessary documents related to this purchase.
Support.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
No.
Item E is a bid award for the audiovisual equipment for the City Hall. Mr. Altimus?
Madam Mayor, this is to bring our existing system up to date for the high definition cameras, and also the equipment that will allow us to go live streaming, which we do not have the capabilities with the current equipment that we have. So our 9-year-old system is time for updating to bring it up to speed with today's technology.
Any questions?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, you had.
I had one pretty major concern, I thought. Well, I'll bring up my original concern. I've brought about bids that I've asked, you know, when you were assistant city manager, when Mr. Duchesne was manager, to, before we go out and bid, just come to council at least if anyone has any ideas, you know, give us a week or two or something and throw that in before we actually go out to bid. But then I've mentioned that before. The bigger concern, though, is that we, on the bid, said that the bid's only for equipment city will install, but we have magically $36,000 install fee to the low bidder, who's Able Electronics, but that install part was not part of the bid. Why was the install part not part of the bid? Because that says $36,000. The bids were within $6,000 of each other. If one of the other two bidders could have done it for $30,000, we have a cheaper price.
And that's part of the problem. The folks that specialize in this equipment specialize in the equipment, not the install, which is why when we originally put the system in back in 2008, we did it the same way. It's kind of a design build setup. Basically just bid out all the equipment, and then the folks that helped me put the specs together at the time, I think it was called Convergent, I can't remember the second part of the name, but Convergent, that we did it, put it together that way, so all the AV equipment companies would bid on it instead of thinking that they couldn't bid on it without bidding the install. So that's why we bid the equipment that way.
Well, I'm just looking from the other two bidders. I'd be pretty angry if I saw that one of the bidders is now doing the install when the bid said city will install, and we do have a full-time IT guy. Let's save $36,000 and have him do it.
This is a little more specialized than our IT guy. Steve knows a little bit about the AV side, but not as much as he does on the computer side, which is what his specialty is. So the city put that the city would install for the purpose that they knew they didn't have to worry about install as part of the bid.
What was your question?
No, I just wanted to verify that it was replacing all the cameras in all of City Hall and the whole, all of City Hall,
It's replacing all the cameras in here.
just in this room.
Right. The security system is a whole separate system than what we use for basically doing meetings and everything in this room. This room kind of sits off by it, it's all by itself technology-wise.
Okay.
Well, and we have, well, actually, it's sitting right there. I don't know if it's on. We have a live stream account, and we have live streamed a meeting or two and paid $500 for that camera right there. Maybe it was $400. And we haven't been doing that. I don't want to spend $100,000 and we don't
Well,
live stream.
this is, if you want to use this, you got to do it by hand. And it doesn't tie into your microphone system. So the only way we can do live streaming is by the little camera, basically manually, and then try to pick up the audio manually. What this does is this allows us then to tie it all in together. So when we turn on the system and go live on TV, you're going live on live streaming at the same time. So it's all integrated into that. The only way I can integrate this system into live streaming is to update the equipment. And unfortunately, all the equipment that pertains to doing that, it's kind of like a domino effect. To replace high-definition cameras, you have to have the equipment inside the AV room to tie it into. So it all matches up. So if you want to go live streaming, I've got to do it this way. If you don't want to do live streaming, then I'm not going to have somebody sit here and try to do it. We tried that, it didn't work. We got more complaints because people couldn't hear it, or the video was poor.
Yeah, I understand that. It's not worth $100,000 to me, so.
Well, that was a question I was going to ask you, actually, just generally for the city manager's office. Do we get a lot of complaints about access to our, because this project, essentially, all it's doing is improving the ability for people to view the meetings, which is important, but if we're able to put them on YouTube afterwards, I kind of agree with Cardi, not necessarily $100,000 important if we don't have a lot of people who are complaining about it now.
I don't know if they're complaining. I just know this makes it a lot more easier to get to through our, through the website, and makes it, you can actually live stream. If somebody missed the first half of the meeting, they could actually go home and watch immediately, whereas YouTube, we have to post, and it's a longer process.
But the live streaming won't be any different from the end user. It'll just be a different quality of image. If we run it from that one, you view it online like it'd be on YouTube. It's
live stream, though, would be available right now. If you were live streaming this meeting, you could go in another room and start watching it right now. Where YouTube is, you got to wait for us to convert it and then upload it, which is usually the next day.
I agree. With that camera right there, we have done a live stream meeting.
Correct. Manually.
Once. Maybe it was twice. Yeah, manually means what? Turn it on when someone gets here. We can, explain that to whoever.
No, there's more to that. And again, I can't tie it into the sound system, so they couldn't hear it. But I actually have to have somebody physically come out here and work the equipment, which is not worth the time and energy. If you're gonna do it, then we need to do it right. If we're not, then I'd just soon stick with YouTubing and not worry about live streaming.
If we're live streaming, do we have to start paying a license fee or anything, or would we just?
We already have all that.
Okay.
Yeah, the live streaming part we have. If you don't want to do it anymore, then we just cancel it.
Well, what have we been paying a month then? It's probably a monthly fee, I'm guessing.
That I can't tell you off the top of my head. I think what it was a yearly, one of those where you pay a couple $1,000s for the yearly license.
I mean, I guess I would pose the question to council. Does anyone think that live streaming itself is that important?
I don't feel it's important, but most of the demands for live streaming have come from council. Not necessarily you. but in the past.
Well, I'm not just looking at how expensive it is.
It is.
You know, we're looking at things like we want to save money.
Well, I mean, for sure, right now, it'd be a pretty minimal impact for people watching them, but everyone's cutting cable, and then there is no way to even, like, from my house, I can't watch the meeting unless I watch it on YouTube. And if people are going to watch the meeting, they probably want to watch it when it's happening, not the next day or, you know. People catch it on YouTube. I mean, it's definitely helpful, or you could go back.
But Randy is
Oh.
definitely right about the sound, because the sound is very difficult when you watch it on a live stream, and very often it's also very difficult on a YouTube.
You can't do it. You're trying to pick it up by the speakers in the room. Also, council needs to understand that the equipment's starting to fail, so at some point in time, you're going to invest. It may not be today, but it might be a couple of years from now, and because I'm already losing the DVD recorders, which you can't replace because they basically aren't producing these things, and fixing them is cost prohibitive already. So eventually you're going to be putting some investment into the system. You're going to have to.
I do appreciate that. I do, you know, I don't want things to start failing, but I think for now we're probably okay with the status quo. So I agree with Cardi and Suzanne. It's not worth that much. So if we don't have a motion.
So isn't it, we still need to make a motion and then just vote it down?
You should, you need
Yes.
that.
You need to make a motion to get it on the table and then just vote it down.
Yep.
Oh.
Motion not to award.
May I ask, Mr. City Attorney, would it be a motion to reject? Is that appropriate?
That would be.
Versus a motion to approve and then vote negatively? A motion to reject the bid.
Yeah,
Or all bids.
Okay, I can do it that way. I will make a motion to reject all the bids for the City Hall AV equipment.
Support.
Move support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Our next item is the City of Eastpointe Proclamation designating Tuesday, October the 31st as Halloween Trick or Treat Day. Anybody on council like to read this? Mrs. Lucido, you have your page open.
The City of Eastpointe Proclamation designating Tuesday, October 31st, 2017 as Halloween Trick or Treat Day. Whereas the children of Eastpointe are entitled to the fun and festivity associated with the observance of the Halloween trick or treat custom that is going from door to door in their immediate neighborhoods, displaying their costumes and requesting treats. And whereas the increasing possibility of accidents is an ever-present threat. And whereas it would appear that parents generally favor the early evening hours for trick-or-treat outings. Since this period permits greater visibility and tends to limit participation to younger children to whom the observance was originally intended. Now, therefore, the Mayor and City Council of Eastpointe do hereby proclaim that Halloween, Tuesday, October 31st, 2017, shall also be known as Trick or Treat Day in Eastpointe. We further ask both children and their parents to cooperate in limiting the time of trick-or-treat activities to the period between 5:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. And we also ask that young children be accompanied by a parent or other responsible adults. We further request that householders indicate their willingness to welcome children by keeping their porch or exterior lights on that youngsters can call only at homes so lighted. Finally, we encourage the cooperation of all citizens, young and old, in making this a happy and safe occasion for children.
Thank you.
I do have one comment, Madam Mayor, though, on Halloween. Sounds strange, but I've learned recently of the Teal Pumpkin Project It's for kids with food allergies, so if you have a teal pumpkin on your, I just recently learned this. Apparently, my wife Alyssa has known about it for a while, but she told me about this. I thought that would be an interesting thing that maybe we could include in the proclamation next year, because it's something, if everyone knows then, and you see teal pumpkins on a porch, then you know there's no peanuts, things like that. It's typically looks like it's non-food sort of treats. So that was all.
And this is just a technicality thing, but should we formally vote on it since the proclamation designating a day?
I don't know why we have to vote on it.
I think you should.
Well,
I think we,
do you
I
wanna
think,
make a motion?
I think we haven't in recent years, but I think they used to years ago. So I will make a motion to adopt the City of Eastpointe proclamation designating Tuesday, October 31st, 2017 as Halloween Trick or Treat Day.
Support.
Move to support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
All right, our next item is to appoint, is Resolution 1842 to designate a street administrator. So, Mr. Marucci, what is a street administrator?
The street administrator is required by Act 51, so documents that go into either Department of Treasury or Michigan Department of Transportation require a signature. That's the authorized signature. It can be anyone the city designates. It's typically, if we had a DPW director or city engineer, city manager is a very common one. So,
So
Mr.
who-
Duchesne was the previous
Yeah,
street
okay.
administrator.
Okay.
All right, Madam Mayor, I'll motion to adopt resolution number 1842 designating Joseph Marucci as the street administrator.
Support.
Move to support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. Our next item is to approve the sale of 16860 May to Mrs. Ashley Switniak for $15,222. Mr. Marucci, do you want to give a brief talk, because I think you're the one that's been working on this? About these sales.
I have been, and back in, I believe, Randy, was it 2011 or 12, the council adopted a formal policy.
11 or 12, I'll
Right,
go
so
with
11 or
that.
12, adopted a formal policy on tax reversion homes, which are homes that the city has first offered to purchase for people who have, in essence, walked away and not paid their taxes for 3 years. And the policy that was adopted by the council is that we would offer those homes to city employees, Eastpointe School District employees, or South Lake School District employees for the first right, and it's strictly first come, first serve. This year, we had 4 homes that, we had 7 or 8 properties that reverted, but 4 homes that were deemed saleable. And these 2 people, this Ashley first, she's a 38th District Court employee. They were the first people to contact me, and I think bought the first house, the best house, and I could have sold it 6 times since that time, because everyone says, what about May, which is the street that it's on. So it's a great house, but she's here. I asked her to be here because I think it's important to see that council put a policy into effect. It's doing what the council wanted. We have, in essence, a city employee buying a house in town, and adding to, because this is her fiancé. I do not recall his name, but, so she could introduce. Yes. So Ashley, why don't you tell us about, introduce yourself, even though we know who you are, and
Some of you do know me. I'm Ashley Switniak. I work at the 38th District Court, and I jumped at the opportunity to purchase the home.
We lived in Eastpointe for 25
Yeah.
years. I know, I recognize a couple of these faces on the city council. I went to school with some of these guys, so. And I'm a sergeant for the Department of Corrections, so. I think we're
very-
some decent people
I
moving
think
into
it's
the
very
neighborhood.
exciting
It is.
that we have this opportunity to find a good home in a good city.
Definitely.
Yeah, Councilman Kleinfeld, great idea, for sure. I think this will be good.
Oh, well, then I will make the motion.
I think that'd be
To approve the sale of 16860 May to Miss Ashley A. Switniak for $15,222 and authorize the acting city manager to execute all documents related to this contract.
Support.
Move to support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our next item is to approve the sale of the home at 22020 Shakespeare to Miss Kathleen Hackstock for $8,863. Mr. Marucci, do you want to say anything about this house?
The only that Kathleen is a 38th District Court employee. And again, this email went to, I'm not sure, I'll say we have 150 employees. It went to everyone at the same time here and the 2 school districts. And they were the first 2 to contact me and the first 2 that have now, once, in about 30 seconds, she'll be the new owner of the home on Shakespeare.
So can we get a motion for this sale, please?
All right, I will motion to approve the sale of 22020 Shakespeare to Miss Kathleen Hackstock for $8,863 and authorize the acting city manager to execute all necessary documents related to the contract.
Support.
Move and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes,
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And item J is to approve the agreement to sell the property at 16125 Lincoln to Stacy and Adrian Coates. Are you here?
They are not.
They are not. All right, Joe, and is this any different than the other homes?
It really, well, it is and it isn't, and here's why. This was also a reversion property, but it was also one that was going through the dangerous building process as well, and through the demolition process. So it was, everything converged at one point in time. And Mr. Coates found out about the home, asked to go look at it. We had the keys, we let him look at it. At one time, this was a very, very nice home. It's in a great neighborhood. It's an all brick ranch. And he approached us saying, I'd like to buy it and move my daughter into it. So I asked for suggestions from Mrs. Van Haren because we needed to include things to make sure in a timeline, and also from the city attorney, Mr. Albright, what can we put in the agreement to make sure he complies? Because the home was set for demolition in about a week or 2. And as you can see here, we can either sell it for $2,000 or pay just short of $19,000 for the demolition, because it's a brick home, full basement, and a 2.5-car brick garage that would all have to be demolished. And we'd end up, I would say, with a permanent vacant lot. And I don't think we want that. If we can save what used to be a good home, move people into it, I think that's what we should do. And my belief, and most importantly, the city attorney's belief is, if we approve it, the agreement, this will bind Mr. Coates to do things in a timely fashion.
Oh,
And is Stacy,
Yes, it's.
is she an employee?
No, he is, Stacy is a man, and he is a contractor for the city and has been. He used to live in town. I'm not sure when he moved, but he is, he has one of the several mowing / snow removal contracts. That's probably where you've seen the name.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
how did, yeah, I thought it was employees of the city that we,
This is really not so much a reversion, this is more of taking one off the demolition list. It came to us through a reversion. We had never offered this home for sale because it was to the point we thought no one would want to buy it. So it's, I don't look at it as a reversion, I look at it as salvaging it from the demolition list. Because in addition to this one, there were 2 other homes that reverted to us that were on the demolition list that we're going to proceed with just demolishing.
Okay, I mean, I definitely, if someone's gonna fix it, not demolish it, that's a better course of action, but how did this agreement become initiated? Did this person hear that we were selling homes and then reach out, or?
Well, this home was never for sale. It was strictly, he somehow found out about it being on the demolition list. Because we've tagged the home for demolition, we had put a note on the front door which said demo, and he had seen that. So this home was never offered to anyone. It was never our intention to offer it for sale. He just found out about it, and so we just thought, if someone's willing to fix it, and obviously keep it, let's try to sell it and save the demolition costs, and most importantly, save the home. So it's weird. No one believes it's ever happened here in the past.
This was just one the city put on a demo list. It wasn't like, this didn't have any show cause before.
It did.
Oh,
It went through at least dangerous building. It may have not gotten the show cause, but it was a reversion, and we were going to proceed. There was no viable homeowner or anyone that we could contact that would show up to claim responsibility. So
Gotcha.
it was proceeding through the whole demolition process. And it will be, if this isn't approved, it will be demolished in a week or two when the other 6 homes will be demolished.
Are we sure it's not going to come back to us?
Mr. Coates appears to be very, very serious, and we know him as a contractor, and he is a very good contractor. So our hope is, with the agreement that Mr. Albright drawn up, if he doesn't comply, then it will come back to you. I mean, which is not.
Actually, if the new homeowners do not comply, the new homeowners are consenting to the city allowing its contractors to go ahead and prepare the structures for demolition without the need for going to circuit court or having to come back before the city council. And that's spelled out and set forth in the proposed agreement that Mr. and Mrs. Coates would be signing. And it would be binding, it would be recorded with the Register of Deeds.
Well, I guess it's slightly late for my question, and I shouldn't have made this assumption, but I assume that contract, so this wasn't the same contract used for the other 2 homes, then I thought we cut and paste the addresses and just didn't put the same contract
No,
3 times.
the contract for
I didn't
the
look
two-
at the addresses, I guess.
Right, the contract for those 2, well, you're saying in terms of the other 2 homes, the 4 homes were listed for sale for city, school district
Right,
employees.
right.
This one would never appear again, it was scheduled for
Right.
demolition. And this home is to the point of it has no gas service, no electric service, and the water service is actually disconnected. That's how far along in the demolition process it goes.
So there's actually no agreement then like this that we.
For the
other-
previous 2, no, because it's a straight outright sale.
Okay.
They will be issued a quitclaim deed. There's no formal agreement. And those homes are homes that are viable. I mean, the only thing that's missing is the connection of the gas and the electric service. The water has stayed connected.
Okay.
So yes, they're similar, but they're really different. They're only similar in the sense that they were all 3 on the reversion list.
Yes.
Other than that, this home was never meant for public sale.
Considering this situation, maybe after we sort out, we talked about, formalizing the policy further on our requirements for selling to employees and such. Maybe we need something that kind of addresses this situation, houses on the demo list, like a last grab type policy or something. But, down the line, just because this is very odd, this
It's very odd.
situation, so.
Yeah.
But I do agree that it's a good solution, so. I will make a motion to approve the agreement and to sell the property at 16125 Lincoln to Stacy and Adrene Coates for $2,000 and authorize the acting city manager to execute all necessary documents related to the agreement.
Support.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
All right, we have several items that have been added tonight. So the first item would be to make the motion for the November 9th meeting to certify election results.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to schedule a city council meeting at 5 PM on November 9th to certify the election results.
Support.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. And the next item, I believe, would be the discussion of the DPW positions.
Did you want to schedule an audit
Should we just do
meeting
that
or
now
something?
before we-
Oh, okay. I thought that was part of the.
No, that's what no, I thought we said that earlier. Didn't we need to schedule that? I was agreeing with you.
We do need to schedule that, as I had it next.
Oh, okay.
This was the one you had next.
Oh, okay. Yeah, council and mayor, you all received the information that I kind of disseminated regarding what I see as the need to address the funding for the structure in the DPW department. There's been some discussion up here already about adding a department head and adding 2 to 3 workers under the new union contract. I think that the way that our budget is written that we do have to seek an amendment. But I have had some conversations with administration that there are some other steps that we need to discuss too. So far as referring the matter to the Civil Service Commission to make sure that we have a job description and a, I believe, grade level. But my understanding on top of they would make a recommendation. And then my understanding is council would have to approve the wage and salary plan, which I don't recall coming before us in recent years. But the administrative rules and regs, I believe we are supposed to approve that at the end of the process after it goes through civil service.
Correct.
So,
And it's already scheduled on civil service, for civil service on November the 8th, is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor.
So then it would come back to us after that.
yes. And I'm glad to see that that's moving forward. I did request from Mr. Marucci that we get a copy of what the job description was a couple of years ago, as well as what any updated recommendation to the Civil Service Board ends up looking like. And I do have a question. Is the descriptions of the jobs merged with the wage and salary plan? Is that all one document?
I don't think so. I think the qualifications in the position are one document, and then that position is in the wage and salary. Is that
Okay.
correct?
That's what I thought it was, because I wasn't sure if we.
Because it has to base, the level is decided upon by the requirements for the position. Is that right?
I believe, correct, Mr. Altemus is the expert on that. And, can you speak to also the job description? Because I don't believe that's within the purview of the Civil Service Board. But would you address both?
No, the Civil Service Board needs to put the job itself or the classification into the classification for non-union. Right now, we don't have that position in there. Basically, the job description is up to how the administration would want to approve or write it. But we need civil service to give us that first step, which is put that position back into the non-union classification. From there, we can then move on from there. So we would make, what the administration would do is make a recommendation of what grade level it should go into. At that point, the civil service would approve not only the job title, but also the grade level it would be positioned.
So, and you're responsible for civil service, are you not?
That is correct.
Okay.
Are you coordinating with our labor attorney at all to look at that? I'm just curious because.
Well, I wouldn't coordinate with labor, I'd coordinate with civil service attorney if I needed any additional information. But right now, we've made multiple changes, moving people in and out based on increased job duties, so.
Do we have another attorney who specifically deals with?
Yes, we have a civil service attorney specifically for the Civil Service Board.
Okay.
So I would think that, I would assume that our next step is to wait until it goes through civil service and then come back.
Well, yeah, that's all one side of things. I still want to discuss the budget because the way I see it, we haven't put any funding in for these positions, and I don't believe when funding's not allocated for something specifically that money can be spent on that.
But I don't think that we can determine the amount of money until we get the position and the qualifications.
Well, at the time of hire, at that point, then the finance director would be coming back for a budget amendment for not only salary, but also for benefits at that point.
So, and I think Michael is also talking about the additional workers that we wanted to put in.
Mhm.
And so, but I still think it's contingent upon the first step here.
It's a whole bunch of different things. The director position, the additional workers, and then allocating funds in a way that was that we had discussed when we discussed the structure of it, in terms of bringing that department in alignment with our new union contract.
I think we still have to wait a bit until we take this first step. And then-
For the director's position, the
Correct.
three DPW employees, we're moving forward and advertising.
Well, I think, should we be suggesting then motion to Civil Service Board with what we're looking for?
Well, if administration's already doing it, I don't think that we necessarily have to do that.
We've already told them to do it.
But I don't agree that you would wait until the date of hire to even think about a budget amendment. We're supposed to allocate funds before we spend them. I know that, Mr. Blum, you've talked to us about how some of our amendments are done so that we come into compliance. And I've noticed from past amendments that sometimes we're allocating money after the fact when it's already been spent. I actually have some questions about how that legally works, but I'll refer to, I'll ask that question later because I'm sure it takes a little bit of research. But I know for sure best practices would be to allocate the funds ahead of time, which is why I want to get this tackled and get this straightened out as soon as possible, rather than kicking the ball down the road or down the field. So
I have a question to Mr. Blum.
Well, I was gonna say, 2 of the 3 labor hires, though, would be replacements, so they're already budgeted. There would only be 1 additional labor that is not currently budgeted, as well as then the director. Generally, I would come back with a mid-year budget amendment in January. There's always a year-end wrap-up one just to clean things up. The only issue is making sure we don't spend more budget by the end of the year. So, yes, sometimes we do a budget amendment to make sure that we're not at that point, but if we bring in the person now, we've got a whole year budget, and we're only halfway into the year, so we're not going to be overspent as long as it's amended before June 30th. So you don't need the amendment before you hire the person, as long as you say, yes, I want the person in here, and you're going to approve the amendment when it's brought forward.
the issue with that is that if we decide not to approve an amendment or something, that's
But
why.
if you guys are given direction to bring the person in, then the amendment
I
is
guess I don't
assumed to
see
be
why
approved
we-
at that point.
I do not see why we wouldn't allocate the funds ahead of time if we know we're going to need to do that. That's my
it could
position,
be.
and that's why I want to proceed with pursuing an amendment.
Well, yeah, and I think more, I think what you're saying is like our actual adopted budget, that should be changed, so when it comes time for next year, that's going to be there. Essentially, not even maybe just specifically, very specific, that document you give us, that's the budget amendment, because that is more about what has been spent according to how we budgeted 6 months ago. You're just looking more, I think, I agree we shouldn't just wait till then. We should have the plan, I guess.
Let's go back, because Randy is saying that all you're doing, if you're bringing in 3 new employees, workers, you've already have the budget for 2 currently that are no longer here, so you're just adding 1 more. And I think what Randy is saying is that you've already got sufficient or adequate funds there to add that other one until the amendment comes through in January.
I think my understanding was he was saying that we can basically, as long as we fix it before June 30th, it'll be fine, not that.
Correct, because the budget's an annual number. We just can't overspend. I mean, we could be 11 months into it and be bumping up against the budget, and then we either stop spending or get the amendment in place. But it's an annual number, and it's not a matter of it. You have to have the budget already approved, or the budget amendment already approved before you bring the person in, if you intend on approving the budget amendment.
I think we do for a director because there is no money allocated for that right now.
Yeah.
So we hire someone and we're already up against the budget because there's no money there.
Well, but you really kind of have to wait to see what type of a individual you're going to be bringing in and what the qualifications are and and then their projected salary.
So we know how much to amend.
I understand that an amendment, because we have to, the Civil Service Board has to set a number for that, might wait until after, what was it, November 8th?
November 8th.
But I still want to be ready to move pretty quickly after that. Because, you know, we don't have to wait until we hire someone to know what the number is. We can set that out as soon as, you know, when we put a job posting up, we're not, you know, whoever we hire, we'll pay them what they deserve. We have a set salary for that. We set that ahead of time. So,
Do you have any idea what salary, have you come up with that as yet?
I know where the salary range is, but again, if you hire somebody in January, you don't want to do a budget amendment for a full year salary when you only need 6 months. So, again, I'm civil service, he's finance. I'm just making sure we get the Randys right here, but I know what a grade level we would be recommending, which would be the level it was at. I don't know specifically what the salary range would be from there. And we would actually probably have it advertised as a range, so if we get the higher qualifications, we want the flexibility to be able to hire that person within the range.
so our, so I guess on November 9th, there probably won't, it'll just be a certification. There won't be any business on that agenda item?
I'm not, well, they would have to approve the recommendation, correct?
Right. We would have them approve the recommendation of, one, putting the director position back into the grade, non-union grade level, which we don't have that position in right now. It was converted. And then we would make the recommendation of what grade level we want that put at.
So my feeling is to put this on the agenda for the following meeting after December 9th and discuss it further.
Oh, did you?
The civil service will create the job position.
Correct.
And then create the salary range.
Correct.
On November 9th, we will have an ad. In fact, the ad will probably be done in the next week or so because the job description in draft form, the new job description is done. On November 9th, we're gonna, my plan is to advertise. I don't know that it has to come back to you for any purpose because the job description is done administratively, the creation of the position, and the salary is done by civil service. We're gonna be ready to go on the 9th to advertise, at least in the Michigan Municipal League Review online version for the position. I'm not sure there's anything that council needs to do to start that process.
I do think we have to approve the salary because changes to the wage and salary plan are supposed to come to us.
Correct.
So.
But we
I
don't know what the salary is going to be. We know what the salary range is going to be. Now, if you want to make a budget amendment based on the full salary range at the top, because right now we don't know what that is, and I don't know what kind of benefits they're going to need. Are they going to need a family coverage for hospitalization or a single, and so on and so forth. But yes, you are correct. The salary would be approved by council, which in normal cases, you approve our salaries through the budgeting process. In this case, you would do it as we are through the hiring process.
So I'm fine with having this discussion in November, understanding that the numbers, I mean, we wouldn't have.
It seems to me like we wouldn't have a number till after we hired someone.
You'll have a number.
A range.
You'll have a range, but remember, all this will come together concurrently, and this is about a 2 to 3 month process. So let's say if the appointment, and I just don't recall the charter for it, if the appointment needs the blessing of council, you in essence would be confirming the city manager's choice and then the salary at the same time. So all this is working together at the same point in time, and that's when, assume a person, you're offering a person a position, he accepts, normally 30 to 45 days till he starts. You will meet twice. The finance director can do a budget amendment. You can approve the salary schedule or the salary for that specific amount. So again, I believe we can work forward, still keeping council's intent and keeping you with the official duties that you have to perform.
Now, I think all that sounds good. The part that I haven't touched on yet is also the restructuring part, because once we've done the union contracts, I mentioned it just briefly, but when I started talking, but I want to bring it into, bring the structure in alignment with not only the charter, because I don't know how things got so far off base with aligning with the charter, but also our new workers contract that we just approved. When all is said and done, when we get a director and we allocate money for this, moving forward, there should be one director that is non-union, and then all full-time employees after that in the department should be union, covered by that contract. It wouldn't
Currently,
make
the
sense.
supervisors are underneath civil service, underneath non-union. So you have two positions, supervisory.
How many other, other than the city manager's office, how many other departments have supervisors in them that are non-union?
Non-union, just one.
What about the police department?
Police department is just the director is.
What about the fire department with the captains of each of the teams?
So just a different union.
Fire department is fully unionized.
So this is part of the problem. It doesn't make sense. When we got rid of the director, we created this quasi, someone who should have been union but is doing administrative work, and ended up between what is properly a union and properly a non-union position. The superintendent, or the, director should be non-union. All full-time employees after that should be union, and then part-time employees covered by the administrative rules.
Well, to include them in the union contract, that's a whole different process. We'd actually have to go through Merck to get that included into the union contract, and that would be a negotiable item at that point.
You also would then have supervisors in a union disciplining union members, which is why you don't have them in the union. We've always had a director and two supervisors as non-union, because those are the ones that dole out any discipline to the union staff.
You say we always had. Before we got rid of our director,
We had a director and two
Yes,
supervisors.
we actually used to have a director and three non-union supervisors. One for water, one for DPW, and one for parks.
Is that what the
That's true, we did
structure
have-
said in that CBA then? I couldn't recall. So it's the director and two
Supervisors, and all
supervisors.
three of those would be non-union.
Okay.
And then in the union contract, you had the assistant supervisor, whatever the term was, which was union.
Right, was
And then the
the
laborers.
whole team under that.
But you still had the two supervisor non-union positions, so you had that triangle at the top.
Okay.
just because that's how it's been done in the past, I don't think that's how we need to go forward. We had a bigger team many years ago, and we had to downsize and privatize some of our services. If I remember correctly, I don't have the workers' contract in front of me, but the two supervisory roles in that are more to perform administrative functions like scheduling and such. I think the director would still singly be the one responsible for reprimands.
And I don't have it in front of me either, but I don't think the supervisor roles are even addressed, are they, in the
There's assistant supervisor roles.
The ones
and
we
they're
just, the
to
one we just
manage
filled.
the crews.
Right.
Out in the field. They don't do scheduling
But
or
our
anything.
numbers have not really decreased in those two departments, right, in water and streets? We've pretty
be
much
down a
stayed the
couple
same,
right
the only downsizing was in the parks.
Parks, right. And we eliminated the supervisor and the parks laborers.
Right, and we just contracted that out, we
Yeah.
didn't really eliminate the service. Well, I think it's room for further discussion at whether you do it at the next meeting. I think you really need to wait until you go before civil service and then come back with some
Well, in all due
suggestions following
respect to council, you know, it would be nice to have a city manager
first.
in this conversation because you're changing structure of this organization without that input. Throw that out there for what it's worth, but
I think that city manager, if you're going to revise the department, you need to have this full support of the future city manager before you even begin to do that.
I mean, I'm not necessarily too concerned. I mean, council has received a considerable amount of advice in this area already, with a report that Steve Duchesne had ordered be done to review the structure of DPW. So, I mean, I'm not saying I want to exclude anyone from that conversation. If we hire a permanent city manager and everyone's on the same page, great. I'm just saying I don't want to wait on the issue. But as Mayor Pixley said, I do think we could probably just continue this discussion at our next meeting in November.
Okay. Then there wouldn't be a specific motion for right now then?
No.
Or,
I don't think we need one right now.
I don't think right now I need one, or I feel that I need to make one. I know that in the material provided, I outlined this is what I would like to do. But because administration's already going forward and they have a meeting on November 8th, I feel comfortable tabling it until then.
Again, you know our intention, revise the job description, advertise as soon as the Civil Service Board creates the position, and then the salary range. So on November 9th, we're going to be ready to go. I don't want anyone to be surprised or shocked, disappointed, and I don't want to jump the gun. I just think we need to get this done, and there'll still be talk about organization, whatever, but I think we want to get the ad out there, because with the holidays coming up, it's going to be a 3-month process. And the sooner the ad gets out there, and again, I think everything that my intention and Mr. Blum's and Mr. Els's intention is, I believe it's fully in conformance with what the council wants to do.
Right, I agree with that.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree as well, because I do recognize that the director is the first step to the other parts that follow for what I want to do anyway. Whether council agrees with me at that point, I don't know, but you are taking the first steps that kind of get me, that I would be satisfied with moving in the right direction, so.
And the other steps is that we're also moving forward to filling the 3 vacant labor positions. In terms of advertisement, we'll be doing that very, very shortly, because that, regardless of what happens with the director, supervisor, whatever, we need to fill those positions. And we have acted in good faith in terms of filling the assistant supervisor position, which was created. That person, in fact, I believe yesterday was the first day of the promotion. The first day of the pay schedule was yesterday. We did the interviews approximately 2 weeks ago, and that position was filled right away. And yesterday was the first effective date.
Are there 2 then that fill that position?
I believe, Randy, you negotiate, instead of me making a mistake.
What the intent was to get 2 assistants and get up to 10 laborers for the 2 assistants. Right now, we don't have enough staff to have more than 1. There's no point in having 2 assistants with our 4 guys. Once we get some guys back from workers' comp, we get 3 new bodies in here. I mean, actually, the overall intent had been to try to get the staff back to 12 laborers, well, 10 laborers, 2 assistants, 2 mechanics, if we could figure out how to fund it. That was the long-term goal. Right now, we just want to fill the 2 vacancies and try to add 1 more.
Okay, so we are agreed we don't need a motion on this.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the next item, which I have as the stipend for the acting city manager.
We're at the December, did we do the December 5th meeting?
Not yet.
Okay.
So you've all received the information that was mailed?
You're talking about the stipend now?
Right, the stipend.
Yes.
Does anyone have a motion? Or
Sure,
discuss it?
Well, I think I like Mr. Blum's suggestion here for the stipend. I didn't know if anyone disagreed. It's essentially, for anyone listening, Mr. Blum took the percentage of what the city manager was making when Mr. Ultimus last time filled in. When Mr. Parks left, which was about 94%, we'll say, and took that of what Mr. Duchesne was making when he just left, and that would be acting city manager Marucci's new salary.
Is that what you were suggesting, Mr. Blum?
I was just providing data. I wasn't suggesting anything. That's
fine. Then I'm
it was just
suggesting
it was to put it into a comparative mode is all.
You know, one quick comment. Mr. Altimus and Mr. Blum and myself were faced, I'm glad with what he did. He provided information because he was a very uncomfortable position, so was Mr. Altimus, and to a much lesser degree, myself. So that's why I'm glad he shared information and you people digested it and will act on it.
So you were saying to make the acting manager, bring him up to 94% of what Mr. Duchesne was getting when he left?
That is where Assistant City Manager Altimus was back last time we did this. So that was, again, just, it's a data point. You guys can do what you want with it, but.
Yeah, I didn't mean to then, make it sound like Mr. Blum was suggesting that to us. He gave us that information, which after looking at it, I thought personally was fair with using the percentage. So it was just data. Mr. Blum was not by any reason pushing this on us or anything. I just thought it seemed fair, that was all. I didn't know what the rest of council thought.
No, I agree. I think it seems fair.
Mr. Kleinfeld?
It's a bit more than I was, than how I had presented it last time, but it is a pretty, it seems reasonable to me as well. I don't know.
All right, then somebody want to make a motion?
Sure. And right before that, we will still be, Mr. Duchesne's payments will be done shortly, and then we'll actually have one less position, so we'll actually be saving money at that point, right, Mr. Blum?
Correct.
So, even with, if anyone looks at this, it is quite a raise, but we're still, the city will actually be saving money at that point. So then I will make the motion to, let's see, what should the wording of this be? Change acting city manager Joseph Marucci's salary to 94% of our, 93.8% of our previous managers. His salary was $107,000, so Mr. Marucci's would be $100,325.
To terminate when the new city manager shows up.
Correct, yes, doesn't just keep going.
To revert back.
Just for the time being, as he is acting city manager until we hire a permanent.
All right, and I have one other question, because Mr. Altimus functioned in that role for, 2 months? From the time that Steve left, which
Yes,
would be August to,
August to the last meeting.
so he functioned in a dual role there, so I really think that maybe we need to give him some additional funds, because he went through a lot.
Yeah, if we want to
Do
Kari's motion, I'll make a motion to that.
Okay, let's finish the first motion and then go back.
Thank you.
So Mr. DeMonico made a motion, and we do have approval. Second?
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
And then the second part of that would be for Mr. Altimus, for the period of time since August the 4th until, why don't we do it until November the 4th? When did you take over?
It was
October?
October 3rd,
It
correct?
was the day after the Wednesday, the day after the last council
October
meeting.
3rd, so. September, October, 2 months? Correct?
I would say almost to the day,
August
2
4th
months.
to
It's October 4th.
3rd, or
So 2 months.
Also using the 94%.
Well, the 94% is 10,000, or the stipend amount is 10,000.
Well, that was
No, it
94%
would be
back then.
11,460.
If we're going to do it for one, we should do it for the other.
I'd have to
We're
go back
going off of
and,
Steve Duchesne's,
Gotcha.
it'd be 11,463.
Oh, did we, well, we motioned on Joe, right? I don't.
If that's still a salary
Well,
there.
yeah.
well, no, see, that's also changed. That's what,
Right.
if you just set the percentage, I'll have to go do the calculation and
Okay.
let you know.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I guess I have one point of inquiry from Mr. Albright here. We didn't, this isn't an agenda item
I thought we added it.
specifically.
We added it
For,
to,
for with Mr. Altimus too, not just Mr.
I thought it was-
Marucci.
I thought it was just limited to Mr. Marucci. I didn't hear.
I thought we talked about the stipend.
I thought it was for both because the information we have,
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't know if it was.
if now
for,
we could always just add the Randy's to the next one, to the next meeting.
The suggestion was interim city manager stipend. It didn't specify an individual that you guys, when you added it to the agenda.
Okay.
okay. Would it be more proper to,
I would recommend that it formally be added as an agenda item.
okay.
And then
It's just
Then I
a
can get
text.
the
discuss
actual
it.
numbers.
Yes.
Doesn't make any difference because he'll still get the money
Yes, I know
retroactive.
that.
so-
I just-
Well, so we can do two motions in a row then? Well, I'll motion to add the additional stipend for Mr. Altimus to the agenda then as our next item.
Oh, support.
And that would be item N.
And, yeah.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
And then the other motion that you want to put it on for the next meeting.
That's what I thought too, but then
No, I thought we were adding it
No,
to this
wait,
meeting
well, I
right
was just
now.
adding it to right now. And then I thought, Mike, if you wanted to make the motion, I think you were about to second.
you were really good at it the last time, so.
Well, because I think this one's slightly, yeah, let's see,
I,
90,
a little different because we're looking at 2 months of whatever prorated $7,000, I think essentially is, right, Mr. Blum?
I think I might be able to
I actually don't know how much he makes, so.
tackle this.
Or, well, I guess that's, might not be current.
If council's more comfortable with the exact number, why don't we add it to the next council meeting agenda instead of,
'cause then we'll have
we
it.
think it's this number, but it could be a different number.
That's what I was asking for,
Right.
if we could put it on,
Yeah.
if we could get a motion to put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, because as the mayor said, it's gonna be retroactive, and it's nice and clean that way.
Doesn't matter to me, either way.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to put it on the table for the next?
Well, Cardy officially just added it.
Table.
So now I will motion to table this matter at our next regularly scheduled city council meeting.
Support.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
What was the last item?
I have no idea what my notes look like.
All right. All right, one more added. We need a motion to schedule the audit meeting for December the 5th at 6.
We did add this one already at the beginning of the meeting, right?
Yes.
We did.
Madam Mayor, I motion to schedule our audit meeting on December 5th at 6 PM.
Support.
Move to support it. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Officially ran out of paper.
Item 10, payroll and bills.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $1,126,701.08.
Support.
Move to support it. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. Move on to the second hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard? Sir, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Anthony. I'm a resident of Eastpointe.
Sorry, can you state your name?
Anthony. Did you hear me? Anthony.
Anthony.
Yeah, yes. I have two questions concerning the demo process. The guy, had an agreement to buy a house for $2,000 because it was on the demo list. Are the demo lists available to the general public?
They are, can I
Go
can I
ahead.
address it? Okay. They are available to the public. You'd have to file a Freedom of Information Act request, which is the normal process for any type of public document.
Okay, or I can see one slated for demo with the proper notice on it.
Right, but you'd be driving 100 miles of city streets.
Just in case I see one, I should get in touch with what's the process of that?
You would get in touch, but I can tell you this, all the other homes, they're not salvageable. This one was probably barely salvageable, and the person has made a commitment. But normally, demo homes are demoed. This is a freak thing that happened this time that it's very, very strange, as you saw from the discussion of the council table.
Right, but by chance, if there's one that's salvable, that can be rehabbed, what is the process?
You would just, I guess we'd actually have to develop a process, because this is the first time it's ever happened.
So that's kind of out of the norm.
It's totally out of the norm.
Was that proper?
It surely wasn't improper, because it wasn't anything secretive. Someone approached us, we didn't approach one particular person. This person works for us, he's in City Hall all the time, and saw the list and asked a question because he had also mowed properties neighboring this home.
Correct. So, from my understanding, city-owned houses is available to city employees to purchase, right?
School district employees, both the Eastpointe and the South Lake. So yes, first call is to them. And October 26th, that period closes, and then the sales will be going, those two homes that are remaining as of today will be going in the open market for sale.
Okay. Are they available to contractors as well?
They're available to anyone who has the money.
That's contracted with the city. Do contract work with the city?
It was so unusual what happened with the Lincoln home that I can't even explain it. But the two homes that currently are on the reversion list available to city employees, if they're not purchased by October 26th, will be on the open market for anyone to buy.
Okay.
And these are non-demo homes, the two that are remaining. And whether or not they remain in a week, I don't know.
Okay, how was that price negotiated for the?
So, sir, we're not really supposed to carry
Oh,
on
okay.
a two-way
Sir,
conversation.
if you get me after the meeting, I'll tell you.
Okay, sure.
I'll share the documents with you.
But he can answer all
Yep,
your questions
sorry.
at that time.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Seeing none, the second hearing of the public is closed. We'll move on to mayor and council reports. Let's start with Mr. DeMonico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Had a couple items here. First, last Friday was able to go to a dinner for McRest. It was a fundraiser, and I was pleasantly surprised that one of the, well, it was like an awards dinner also. One of the young ladies, she was previously homeless and then won their Good Samaritan Award, attended East Detroit High School for part of her high school career. So that was cool, and our previous Mayor Dave Austin's on the board there, and his daughter Stephanie Jackson are both on the board. So that was a nice event. Her name's Konisha. Second, the homecoming parade and game was fun and interesting. Got to see Mr. Dan Zander twice in 1 week now. And of course, it was a little rainy, just a little bit. And we just, at the very end there, just lost by 1 point. Just 1 point. So, but a very exciting game for sure, and very memorable day for sure with all the rain too. And then on Friday, let's see, this Friday at Iron Ivy, 5:30 to 7:30, the Eastpointe Rotary is doing a wine tasting. 20 in advance, 25 at the door. And I have a couple events, sorry. The Eastpointe Art Show that we're doing, we're the grand reopening for the Patriot building, that is on the 26th, Thursday, the 26th of October, 5 to 8 p.m. That's at Spindler Park. If you're not familiar, that's the new building that we've been rehabbing. And then there's 4 other days after that that will be showing the art. That's you can look on our Facebook page or on the website for those hours. I don't want to list all those off at the moment. And then, as Mr. Marucci said earlier, we're looking for volunteers, 8:30 a.m. on October 28th to help us plant some trees. And then at noon, we'll be meeting with JJ Mission, everyone, about the adoptive flower beds. So come on out if you're interested in a flower bed for sure. Come on out and we could talk to you about that. And then November 9th, hope you're writing all these events down. The Chamber of Commerce's Deck the Halls, 5:30, 8:30 at Eastpointe Manor. That's a Thursday, November 9th, 5:30, 8:30 Eastpointe Manor. Always a great event. And then, of course, Halloween's coming up, so have a happy Halloween, and also check out the master plan. It's on our homepage. Give us some feedback if you've got some feedback on the master plan. It's our vision till 2040. So that, I think, was all, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Kleinfeld.
Oh, Mr. DeMonico covered pretty much everything. I will just say, remember to vote on November 7th. And that's it.
Ms. Lucia?
I don't really have much this evening. I just want to wish everyone a happy and safe Halloween, and that'll be it for this evening.
Thank you. I want to recommend the high school because they're doing trunk or treat, and I believe that's on the 26th. Is that right? So that's a really big event. Sometimes they have as many as 1,000 cars, so it's a really exciting thing. But it's a good way to keep the kids, still provide them candy and different things, but still be in a safe, contained area. And along that line, this week, Saturday, is the Lions Club Harvest Fest, which will be a outstanding event over at Eastbrook Commons. We have lots and lots of entertainment. I'm really excited. The fire department is going to be coming over and doing their puppet show that they've been doing for fire prevention. So that's kind of neat. They've been going to all the schools, and they also did a performance at Chesterberry. So I know a lot of people at Chesterberry really, really enjoyed it. Dan, you were probably one of those people, right? So it was a good event. 2 weeks ago, on a Saturday, October 7th, the Cruise had an appreciation night in which they gave a number of awards and trophies to people that have helped us with the cruise this year. Cruise was extremely successful. We worked really hard doing charity poker to raise a lot of money so we would have money to do the cruise. But we ended up attracting a number of major sponsors. We had 14 major sponsors this year, and those are 14 people that donated over $1,000, which was really outstanding. So with some all-volunteer help, we were able to give away $10,000 to local charities. So the charities that were awarded anywhere between $500 to $1,000 included Eastpointe residents, the Lions, and a lot of work that they do, various programs that benefited nutrition of Eastpointe residents, summer camps, helping with utility bills through St. Vincent de Paul, scholarships, and I mentioned before that there were 11, that they gave a number of scholarships, and then also the high school band, hopefully for their uniforms, and then also various youth groups. There were 3 different youth groups, and the Tiger Cats. So there was a great deal of funding that went out, and then we all went out to dinner for the Kiwanis, which really supports homeless people to find them places to live. So it was a huge thing. It was a great deal. And then over at First State Bank, you'll be seeing a plaque. The picture, I believe, is going to be in the East Sider coming up, but it says the Historical Society of Michigan acknowledges the First State Bank for its 100 years as a business, but it was the cruise that paid for the plaque. So the Historical Society does it, but you have to pay the Historical Society for the cost of the plaque. So it was really quite nice, really a great achievement. And Senator Beda and Representative Hertel had made an achievement award also for First State Bank. And Beda couldn't be there. Hertel was there, but his baby called and he had to leave early. So I got to present the award from the state, so it was fun. Anyway, that's it, and I will entertain a motion for adjournment. To go into closed session. Pardon? 8K
Oh, the meeting tomorrow.
is tomorrow? That is your job,
Yes,
right?
that is. It is.
All right, you want to talk about it?
The 8 Mile Homeowners Association meeting is tomorrow at 7 PM at Pleasant View Elementary School for anyone who's interested in joining them.
I had one more thing I have to say. Kimmy Rich left me a note and said, and I think everybody in the city is going to be interested in this. It's a 55-year resident of Eastpointe. His name is Richard Nichols. He lives on Roxana, and he's 89 years old. And he wanted to share some news with the mayor and council. And so he asked if we could just pass this on. His daughter, Jacqueline Nichols, last name now is Gladish, is 53 years old, is a longtime resident of the city, and she's a graduate of East Detroit High. She's the second in command for FEMA's East Coast region. So she received a call a few weeks ago requesting her services. And he was very proud and happy to share with all of you that she's the first female chief operating engineer for FEMA to lead all the rescue and the rebuilding efforts in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. She oversees the duties of 7,000 FEMA workers and volunteers, as well as 5,000 U.S. troops that are there assisting the Puerto Ricans. He chuckled and he thought it was pretty outstanding that the military generals report to and check in with his Jackie for updates and itinerary. I think it's pretty neat because she's an East Detroit High grad. He said when he last spoke with her, their only request from home was that she wanted some Zander's chocolates. And you know, that doesn't last in Puerto Rico, I'll tell you. So he lost his wife in January, but he was looking forward to sharing this with the rest of council as well as with the residents who might have known her. So I think that's a great achievement, and it's really nice to know that one of our own is over there working hard. All right, I'll entertain the motion to go into closed session.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to go into closed session regarding attorney-client privilege communication pending litigation with the U.S. Department of Justice.
Support.
Please call a roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes, we go into closed session at 9:25.